Alright, so welcome to a Warhammer 2v2 battle. This is Otter here, and I'm going to be showcasing a matchup with Justice playing the Empire, myself also playing the Empire, and we're going against the Dwarves played by Mistress Amber, and the Wood Elves being played by someone whose name starts with a D, and I forget the rest, so my apologies there. On the side, we've got some Sisters of Thorn and Low X Tricksters. These are a stealth unit, I believe. I'm gonna see that. No, hide in forest. Yes, Loic Shroud. They have access to a stock and are unstoppable, so they can just sneak up on you. So something to watch out for there. I brought a steam tank. That's kind of interesting, I guess. Justice, he's got Carl Franz on a flying mount, and he usually brings that with a Jade Wizard and also a Light Wizard. I don't see the Light Wizard right here. So I guess this time he just brought the Jade Wizard and he brought the Warrior Priest instead to buff his artillery and try and do a little extra damage. I didn't bring any artillery, which maybe put my ally Justice in a bit of a tough situation there. Instead, I brought some Knights of the Blazing Sun because I figured they would be able to match up well against the Wood Elves, some Outriders with grenade launchers, a Witch Hunter just because seemed fun, and Boris Trodbringer, and I also have a Celestial Wizard. And then in the back here, I do have another unit of Knights of the Blazing Sun just to intercept anything that might get vanguarded and put into the rear. Now, this was a very tactical battle in one sense. I don't think I brought like a super competitive list. I brought a Celestial Wizard. But I figured, maybe the Celestial Wizard would have a niche against the Dwarves. And let's see how this artillery battle is going. So the artillery battle, it seems to be going okay for the Empire, but the one Hellstorm rocket battery has taken a lot of damage, and the Goblobber plus the two cannons have done a lot of damage over here. Now I brought a steam tank for one reason and one reason only. I wanted it to counter snipe their artillery, and it looks like it failed miserably. So if you look at this, it's not obstructed, but so far I've fired I don't know how many shots, and I've failed to hit. Okay, there was a hit, but it didn't seem to matter. Like, it didn't damage the artillery, and it's still full health. Looks like, is there some support going down here? Buffing their leadership. But yeah, so I've taken maybe 5, 6 shots at this thing and have done essentially no damage to the Goblobber. I still have not inactivated one unit. So the artillery battle has started to favor our opponents, which sucks for us. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like so the Glade Lord is buffing. Oh my God, get out of here. Let's see this. I don't know what buffs he's giving. I think I thought he was. I don't know why the Glade Lord went there. Maybe it was to try and buff its shooting, but I didn't see any shooting buffs there. Maybe if you see something that I didn't, drop a comment in the video at the bottom. The Knights of the Blazing Sun went out to fight the Sisters of Thorn, but there was a bait and switch here that I didn't notice. These Loic Tristers were essentially stealth, and they got onto these Knights of the Blazing Sun, and that hurt like hell. So now I had nothing to screen out this cavalry, and the steam tank got attacked by the Loic Tristers, and now it's being shot by Thunderers as well. So devastating situation for me on that far flank, and it did literally nothing. Like, look at this Goblobber. It's full health despite being shot like at least by 5 cannonballs, I would say. So I was super disappointed in my steam tank. I will peel my steam tank back and through these swordsmen, and I do have Boris Todbringer here, but I don't really want to fight that if I don't have to. I was asking Justice, I think, to bring over some support here. I just needed this swordsman to fight those Loic Tricksters, but I think he was a little bit distracted at the moment with having lost his artillery and the handgunners and everything else. So really tough situation for us. So now with the shooting advantage in the favor of the Dwarves, we were in a really difficult situation. And I think I sort of alluded to this before, but I think if you're playing Empire against Dwarf and Wood Elves, it's a really tough matchup because the Wood Elves have the opposite playstyle of the Dwarves, and you need a completely different toolkit in the army select to deal with them. Like Wood Elves have a ton of skirmish, a ton of light armored units. They're very fast, so that sort of requires a certain type of toolkit in the army select to deal with it. And then the Dwarves are the exact opposite. They're very slow. They're very heavily armored, so the types of things that are good against Dwarf are terrible against Wood Elves, and vice versa. So I think it put us in a really hard spot about choosing what to pick. Now I was hoping to be able to do something with my steam tank. This was an experimental pick for me. I just wanted to see how it would do in the artillery fight, but actually now it's just taking cannonballs to the face, and really has so far done nothing for me at all. Thunderers are going to start shooting it to the backs of these swordsmen. And I think some counterfire here is coming from Justice, who's repositioned his handgunners onto the side. In a 2-to-1, they will be able to break these Thunderers despite the shields and the extra armor. So our opponent has pulled back, Mr. Samber, and has decided to wait until additional reinforcements can arrive to support those Thunderers. The cannons, again, still pouring into my steam tank, which is really hurting me. Boris Todbringer is taking some damage, but he doesn't really care. And I'm just wondering, okay, if we have no ability to shoot now, I don't really know how we can win this engagement. Like, I look at my army, I have halberdiers and 3 swordsmen. Like, there's zero chance of those being able to kill what's here. Like, zero. So my army, like, the steam tank was just too many points. The witch hunter was too many points. And probably Celestial Wizard and the Outriders, like I feel like I didn't have the tools. Maybe the Knights of the Blazing Sun could have done something if they managed to get around into the back, but like it was screened out by Treekin, by a lot of chaff infantry. Like, and you got to tip your hats to our opponents. Their army select was on point, and their micro was fantastic too. Like, look at how wide they've gone in terms of their army deployment, with really a lot of chaff troops, but troops that can hold their own. And they have so much map control. Like, if you look, we're sort of falling back into this periphery, and we're trying to wrap around them. But like, I lost my other unit of Knights of the Blazing Sun over here, so it's looking really, really tough here. The Jade Wizard is taking some pot shots. I'll speed this up because there is a lot of posturing here, and I can only ramble for so long. But Justice pulls his Jade Wizard back. I rotate my Knights of the Blazing Sun over to the side because I know the Sisters of Thorn are here, and if they got into these handgunners, I might need to provide a little bit of support here and also deal with these Thunderers. Besides, this side was like completely blocked off, and I was like, there's really not much I can do over here. So I do get into the Sisters of Thorn. I do a ton of damage to them. I also get a rear charge in on the Loix Tricksters, who are very low and close to breaking. The Thunderers show up, though, so I have to pull my Cav back because I don't want them to take the shots. This Ladler is going to take some pot shots at Franz, but he has very high armor and generally doesn't care. The Witch Hunter has managed to do some damage to this Waystalker, who's come in for a rear charge on my Swordsman. The Dwarf Warriors are going to butcher the Swordsman along with the support of the Thunderers, but I do get in an accusation, I believe, on this Glade Lord, wrap him up with the Knights of the Blazing Sun, and the support from Justice's Karl Franz also helps a lot over there. On the right flank, we have a fight going on between the Treekin and the Dwarf Warriors. Now, I do have my steam tank still on with very little health. I've sort of positioned him out of range of the 2 cannons that were shooting at him earlier, and also tried to use that. You see this big rock, these 2 rocks in the middle? I use them to block off the line of sight from those cannons so that my steam tank wouldn't just get sniped off the map immediately. But that means I can't return fire, so the point of taking the steam tank was to win an artillery duel, and that means I can't shoot back at the cannons either. So I'm going to call a compromise and just shoot in at this Treekin. Justice has come in here to support these Halberdiers that were wavering, who definitely needed support, and maybe do a little bit of damage to these Treekin. Now, I do have some Knights of the Blazing Sun who will do very well if they can get that rear charge into the War Dancers. So that's very helpful here. So now all hell is broken loose. We're into the thick of the fighting. We've got Boris Todbringer going up against some Treekin with support of the Halberdiers, so they will do well. But some Longbeards will come over, and Longbeards are just so tough to deal with unless you happened to bring a lot of handgunners or greatswords or artillery, and I had basically none of those tools. So all I had was a Celestial Wizard who could cast Curse of the Midnight Wind and debuff armor. I'm not sure if he's done that yet. No. But, mostly I feel like my army comp was not the best for this matchup. And granted, I don't play a lot of Empire. This is not, my strong faction that I've taken to the fore here. And I was experimenting, like I wanted to see how the steam tank would do. So the Wardens of Cithrall have pushed into the back line. They've screened out these Outriders with grenade launchers who I guess I mismicroed them here a little bit. Oh yeah, they're shooting into the Wardens of Cithrall, but the Wardens are in the woods and they got onto the steam tank. So that was really tough. So my steam tank was useless. It fired on some Treekin and that's about it. That was 2,000 points down the drain. Over here, we got a big scrap going on, some Earthbloods, some support of the Warrior Priest. But these Firebark Elder can just fight everyone forever and not really give a shit. They still have 10 out of 12 models, despite being fully surrounded, being attacked by a Lord, by a Warrior Priest, by Halberdiers. So they're wavering, but man, they're up to 140 armor. Holy shit. So the Dwarf Lord, the Rune Lord, has pumped them up to like a stupid amount of armor. So that's why they're essentially unkillable. These Longbeards are at 160 armor, so they're also essentially unkillable. So there's just a pocket of unkillableness over there. On the far side, my swordsmen and halberdiers have just failed against the Longbeards, and the War Dancers have been beaten up by these Knights of the Blazing Sun, but the Knights of the Blazing Sun are also being shot, and they're about to get attacked by 2 units of Treekin. And at this point, the Knights of the Blazing Sun, you can say, oh, they could attack the artillery instead. Why are they fighting over there? Well, the artillery was out of ammo, so it didn't even matter at this point. Over here, we've got buffs and debuffs stacking on top of each other. Damage buffs from the Warrior Priest and Stand Your Grounds. Karl Franz is going to come in here and do some damage. We're going to try and get in on this Rune Lord and kill him. But the Rune Lord is aware of this, and he's going to start pathing sort of to a position where we can't really fully surround him. Which is unfortunate. It seems like he's taking no damage, despite the presence of Boris Todbringer, the Celestial Wizard, and Karl Franz, despite wavering a little bit. And this pocket is just decisively turning in the favor of our opponents, despite there being 2 legendary lords here and the support of 2 heroes. I do believe the Spellsinger of Life, who perhaps we didn't notice and should have been killing instead of the Rune Lord, has been pumping heals into the Rune Lord and these otherwise unkillable units. So I think that was maybe a mistake by ourselves. We probably should have gone after the Spellsinger of Life instead. Maybe that's what Todbringer is doing. I'm not really sure. But had we gone after the Spellsinger of Life, she could have retreated into Slayers and 2 to 3 units of Thunderers. So I think you can kind of see where this battle is headed at this point. I do have some very tattered stuff that's going to rally a little bit here on the periphery, but all in all, we just got out-muscled by the super wide Dwarfs, and some really nice sneaky spear play on the flanks from the greenskins, from the Wood Elves, who are dressed in green but are not, as far as I know, skinned greenly. Okay, so hopefully this is going to wrap up soon. I would like to get to the end screen. We'll just soak in a little bit of cinematic action while the game wraps up. Yeah. Oof, Dwarf with heals are just so hard to deal with. My God. They're pretty much unkillable as it is. If you give them access to heals on top of that, it's so hard. Okay. Going to the end screen. Yeah, so like I said, I feel like I didn't have the tools to deal with this army, so props to Mistress Amber. I think his army select was fantastic to deal with the Empire. I think I probably spent too much into heroes. If I were versing the Dwarfs again, knowing that the most competitive Dwarf pick is just the Rune Lord and nothing else, and just going super wide, I think I would have had to emulate that style and just gone Like, I don't know, maybe I go with Volkmar the Grim on foot to try and counter that, and then just drop. Maybe the one matchup where you don't need magic support is against the dwarves. Maybe I've flirted with that idea because I think you need to go a little bit extra wide, and the dwarves have magic resistance anyway. So if there's one matchup where maybe you would cut the mage, I think it would be against the dwarves. The Outriders with grenade launchers were useless the entire game. I mismicroed my steam tank, but also it just sucked, so they were worthless. The swordsmen, I put some chevrons into them just so they wouldn't break immediately, but they still just would lose immediately, like essentially to the longbeards and everything else. And they were outnumbered, like 4 units of swordsmen versus 5 units of dwarf warriors. All 5 of those dwarf warriors would have beat them. All of those longbeards would have beat them. So like just off the army pick, my army was stupid. Justice had some really nice stuff here, but again, like we went really high into heroes with the warrior priest, the jade wizard, and Karl Franz. So that meant that we weren't really very wide, and it was very tough for us to deal with this. And the Hellstorm rocket batteries and Sunmakers, I think they were trying to snipe the artillery instead of shooting up the infantry. Ultimately, they failed to take out the artillery. They lost that artillery fight decisively, and they didn't do any damage to the infantry either because Mistress Amber spread out his forces so much. So that was tough. The opponent was DIS. So congratulations to Dis for beating us in this very sneaky and unorthodox Wood Elf roster with 3 Treekin, no archers aside from 1 unit of Glade Riders, and then a little bit of hero support. So very unconventional Wood Elf army. Maybe Mistress Amber was just sort of asking him to take units that would compensate for the dwarf weaknesses, which is essentially speed and mass. So having 3 units of Treekin really gives that extra mass for the dwarf players to deal with. But super fun fight. It was very tough. I learned a lot from this matchup. Basically, I think I would never take the steam tank again. And also, I need to watch out for those stealth wood elf spears. I was certainly not expecting that. And then, yeah, maybe I would go a little bit lighter. But I was experimenting here, like a witch elf, celestial wizard. Those are not super competitive picks. Neither is the steam tank. And I knew that going into the match, but I wanted to try them anyway. So, thanks for watching. Hope you're doing good, and catch you around. Bye.